On December 24th, 1999, the festive cheer of Christmas Eve was shattered by a chilling act of terror. Indian Airlines Flight 814, en route from Kathmandu, Nepal to New Delhi, India, became the target of a brazen hijacking. The aircraft, a standard Airbus A300, carried 155 souls, a mix of Indian citizens, foreign tourists, and a crew going about their duties, unaware of the nightmare about to unfold. The hijackers, believed to be members of the Harkatul Mujahideen, a Pakistan-based terrorist organization, stormed the cockpit shortly after takeoff. Armed with pistols, grenades, and explosives strapped to their bodies, they transformed the ordinary flight into a scene of terror. Passengers recounted the chilling experience of witnessing the hijackers brandishing weapons, their faces contorted with fanaticism, their threats echoing through the tense cabin. The world watched in horror as news of the hijacking spread like wildfire. Governments scrambled to gather information, families clung to hope, and the passengers and crew of IC-814 found themselves trapped in a high-stakes hostage situation. The hijackers had a clear and terrifying agenda: the release of their comrades imprisoned in India, a demand that would test the very fabric of India's resolve. The hijackers, in their first act of defiance, directed the pilots to change course. Their initial destination was unclear, their motives shrouded in a veil of terror. The hijackers, however, soon made their demands clear: the release of several notorious terrorists held in Indian prisons. Among the names on their list were figures known for their involvement in previous attacks against India, individuals whose release could have far-reaching consequences. The hijacked aircraft, now a pawn in a deadly game, became a ghost ship, traversing the skies with a trail of fear in its wake. Forced to make multiple stops for refueling, IC-814 first landed in Amritsar, India. The hijackers, wary of any rescue attempts, kept the passengers and crew under constant threat, using intimidation and violence to maintain control. The next stop was Lahore, Pakistan, where the hijackers allowed a handful of women and children to disembark. However, the brief respite offered by this humanitarian gesture was overshadowed by the hijackers' growing impatience and brutality. The world watched as the crisis unfolded, the hijacked plane a stark reminder of the human cost of terrorism. As the hijacked IC-814 sat on the tarmac in Amritsar, a tragedy unfolded that would forever scar the memory of the incident. Rupin Katyal, a young newlywed returning home from his honeymoon in Nepal, became the first and only fatality of the hijacking. The exact circumstances surrounding his death remain shrouded in conflicting accounts, but the tragic outcome served as a grim reminder of the hijackers' ruthlessness. Some reports suggest that Katyal, perhaps emboldened by a desire to protect his wife, resisted the hijackers' demands. Others speculate that he was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, caught in a moment of escalating tension. Regardless of the precise details, his murder sent shockwaves through India and beyond. The Indian government, already facing immense pressure to secure the release of the hostages, was now confronted with the stark reality of the hijackers' brutality. The death of Rupin Katyal hardened the resolve of many, fueling demands for decisive action against the terrorists. However, the safety of the remaining hostages remained paramount, limiting the options available to the authorities. After a tense standoff spanning several days and multiple locations, the hijacked IC-814 finally landed in Kandahar, Afghanistan, then controlled by the Taliban regime. The hijackers, having successfully evaded capture or a rescue attempt, had achieved their goal. They had brought their demands to the doorstep of a regime sympathetic to their cause. India, facing an agonizing dilemma, found itself in a race against time to save the lives of the remaining hostages. The hijackers, operating from a position of strength, engaged in protracted negotiations with Indian authorities. Their demands remained unchanged: the release of their comrades in exchange for the freedom of the hostages. India, though initially resistant to negotiating with terrorists, found itself in an untenable position. The lives of over 100 innocent people hung in the balance, their fate resting on the outcome of the high-stakes negotiations. On December 31st, 1999, after days of intense negotiations, the Indian government made the agonizing decision to release three dreaded terrorists, Mushtaq Ahmed Zargar, Ahmed Omar Saeed Sheikh, and Maulana Masood Azhar. The decision, while securing the release of the remaining hostages, proved deeply controversial, sparking debates about the price of human life versus the dangers of capitulating to terrorism.